good morning, everyone. Welcome to Evolutionary Church. Thank you so much for, there were a lot of people rolled in really early this morning, so I just want to acknowledge that and say thank you so much. And for those of you who don't roll in early, just to let you know, it's sort of nice. We do play a little bit of music in the beginning to sort of set the tone and the mood for church. So if you want to come a few minutes early before we open the doors, say hi to everyone, and just sort of drop in to our sacred and our holy space. You're welcome to do that and to come early. So that's my little preamble before I say hello. And welcome, everyone. Welcome to Evolutionary Church. It's so delightful to be with you here this morning. And in Evolutionary Church, our mission is a planetary awakening in love through a unique self-symphony. And together, we declare that the last day of the old face of evolution is honored as the first day of the new face of creation. I am Lisa Witter. I'm the Executive Vice President for the Center for Integral Wisdom, and I am your moderator for this amazing gathering that we do every Saturday called Evolutionary Church, Church of Evolutionary Love. We sort of use the two interchangeably, but officially we are the Church of Evolutionary Love, and we can say we are totally official because we have a YouTube channel called the Church of Evolutionary Love, if that makes us official. So that being said, in Evolutionary Church, we are connected, we are whole, we are expressions of the entire process of creation, and we are activating a new humanity that we call Homo Amor. And we are not only a church, we are a synagogue, we're a mosque, we're a temple, we're a zendo, we're all of it. No one is excluded, everyone is included, and we come together to attune to the evolutionary impulse that's awakening in us, as us, and through us. So welcome home, everyone. We're so delighted to be with you here this gorgeous morning. I know where I am, it's now raining. I know where Mark is in Portland, it's snowing. I think where Barbara is, it's snowing as well. So in much of the North America area, it is cold and snowy, but let us know what the weather's like in your neck of the woods. Maybe you're in a warm, sunny place and you can send a little bit of that to us. Again, please do open up your chat box, say hi to us, let us know where you're joining us from, and spread the love. Let your friends know about Evolutionary Church. We are a grassroots movement, and this is word of mouth is our best advertisement, as most of you know. So please do share with your friends. In every email that we send out, there is a how to invite your friends link. So even right after church, maybe go to one of our emails that we just sent you this morning and forward that to your friends. And let's grow this movement, people. We do have our YouTube channel that we're encouraging you to subscribe to. It's the Church of Evolutionary Love. Just search for it and you're in YouTube and you'll find it. Subscribe to our channel and you will have access to all of our replays, as well as you will get notified of our of every new episode that is uploaded, which it's uploaded obviously every week. So it's very good and beneficial to be a subscriber to our YouTube channel. And of course, you can always join our community on Facebook, which is facebook.com/evolutionary church. So little bit of an overview of what to expect for the next hour. We always begin with a Dharma recap, and a Dharma recap is simply, I just recap the messages from last week from Barbara and Mark, and that brings us forward into our message and our code for this week. And Barbara will then set the resonant field for us. And after she sets the resonant field for us, she hands it over to Mark and we go into prayer. And then from prayer, we go into our two messages for the week from Barbara and Mark, and we end it all off at the top of the hour. So with that, I invite us into our Dharma recap. We are in week 122 of Evolutionary Church. And in Evolutionary Church, we are articulating a new story in response to the evolutionary crisis that we face. Because without a new story of love and of power, without a new story of identity, without a new story about the true nature of reality and our place in it, we're essentially looking at a future in which the primary challenge is actually going to be irrelevance. So we need a new story, because except for the few elite who have the money to access biohacked algorithms, as Mark said last week, to increase, he was saying, their prowess and their longevity, everyone else on this planet is going to be left essentially without jobs, without access to these technologies that are needed to navigate the new world. So we are facing crisis at an existential level, and we need a new story. So in Evolutionary Church, we believe that our crisis is the birth of a new human and a new humanity that we call Homo Amor. And Homo Amor is the evolutionary impulse that's alive and awake in us, and that we live in that knowing as Homo Amor. Homo Amor recognizes that each of us is an irreducibly unique and an irreducibly valuable expression of a configuration of intimacy, as we like to say. So our risk, our unique risk, is to actually live as Homo Amor. Our unique risk is to experience the truth of who we really are, which is a unique expression of the evolutionary impulse that's needed by all of reality. And to have that truth remain as the center of gravity from which we think and from which we act in the world. So with that, I invite us now to enter into the holy, the sacred space of Evolutionary Church as Barbara sets the resonant field for us. Barbara, I'm going to ask you to start your video, and we'll turn on your audio as well. And I'll have to have you turn on your audio. It seems like mine isn't working on this end.
Unmuted, and
there you go.
and then
there she is, the beautiful, the magnificent Barbara Markson.
You have to do that yourself. Okay, let me get this out of the way. Oh, let's all really tap into the deepest source of your being. As I read this code, because in the Evolutionary Church, or the Church of Evolutionary Love, we are actually becoming at one with the impulse of evolution itself. It is not just this moment of evolution that we're aware of. We are aware of the impulse of evolution that took the billions and billions of years to get here, right now, in us, in this moment. So I'm going to read the code as we recognize the moment of evolution being a fulfillment of the ages from the point of view of the impulse. That is to say, it's being fulfilled in every one of us in this moment. So here's the code. You can only participate in the evolution of love, which itself is cause for the evolution of culture and consciousness, by taking your unique risk. Your unique risk is not reckless. It is a natural expression of your unique self. Your unique self is at one level your unique set of allurements. Be faithful to the integrity of your original allurement, even after it has faded, and it will return. The only genuine, reckless risk that one can ever truly take is not to take your unique risk. Your unique risk will be self-evidently supported by those closest to you, but at least not initially. But eventually, as your authenticity, depth, and steadiness over the years deepens, your unique risk will attract new people into your life, evolutionary partners and beloveds with whom you can go the whole way in this lifetime. But sometimes in marriage and family, it might be beautiful and perfect or imperfect, but not one who can fathom the depth of your unique risk. And that's fine. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning.
My word to you.
Good morning, love. Oh my God, we've already talked 3 times today. We already talked with Lisa and we got to speak twice afterwards. And we have a big meeting tonight. So this is a big day. This is a big day, a big day. Oh my God, is it really snowing there? Or it's just snow on the ground?
It's beautifully, brilliantly clear.
Oh my God, that's gorgeous. I know Terry says he's got snow in Sun River, Oregon. And so we're doing the weather report. It's going to be a new feature of church. Let's have a weather report from around the world. What's going on in Amsterdam, in Paris, in China, right? In Bangladesh, right? Tuning in to Evolutionary Church, Toronto, right? From around the world, right? And we're bringing our weather together. And we're here to take a unique risk. A unique risk, as we're about to move into prayer. Let's really sunshine in Paris, yay, right? A unique risk. Right, stormy in Amsterdam. Okay, no more interruptions for weather bulletins. Right, a unique risk. Friends, good morning, good morning. Right, it's so delightful to be with you. Barbara, to be with you. Lisa, thank you for the Dharma recap so much. Thank you for the gorgeous resonance. A unique risk, right, is always personal and it's always cultural. And they live together. We're at a moment, and I've been talking about this the last 2 weeks, and Barbara and I have been resonating on it together, right? And I just came back from the Flemish countries, where I was privileged to speak to a group of leaders who are deeply connected. In Belgium is the home of the EU, the European Parliament, right? Which is kind of the first attempt, Barbara, of course, at moving beyond nationalism, right? The United Nations, the League of Nations, didn't quite do it. So the EU is kind of a new attempt, right, at actually creating a new structure of intimacy. That's what the European Union is. It's a new structure of intimacy. And Brexit, right, happening in Great Britain today, is actually, right, an inability to live in that configuration of intimacy. And you begin to see how the Dharma works, right? We studied yesterday, right, in the world of Santa Cruz, right? Let's just see how the Dharma works, right? In other words, structures of intimacy. Right, we need to evolve new configurations of intimacy because that's the direction of evolution. So your unique risk is always a risk in intimacy. So I'm going to ask people if you can just, you all holy, gorgeous people kind of work with me here. Let's try and kind of write the Dharma as we go. So your unique risk, so this is a key line. Your unique risk, right, if anyone's willing to help me, right, is always... Right. Kirsten from Germany, Claire, Shahati, right? It's always a risk in intimacy. Everyone got that? See if we can get that down. Let's kind of write that down. Right. Your unique risk is always a risk in intimacy. You're always taking a risk in intimacy because that's always where the risk is, right? Am I willing to be, and to take your unique risk, and I want to just move us into prayer, you have to be vulnerable. Okay? So So you can kind of take a powerful position, right? And it's very people, you really get to know people in terms of their sensitivity and how they react to power. And even the most down and home and, country boy or country girl, but they might actually be a little corrupt, right? And they might not even know it in terms of their relationship to power. So how we know about who we are is how we relate to power. Who do I say hello to? How do I say good morning to someone? So when someone powerful comes in the room, do I open up and give a big good morning, right? But someone who I think I can kind of get away with not lifting my head, right? I can get away with just a perfunctory good morning, right? Then I don't say a big good morning. I'm not intimate. That's who I am. You want to know who you are? That's who you are, right? You want to grow? Grow beyond that, right? It's how we react to people, right? When we feel we're more powerful and they're vulnerable to us. That's number one. We call that in the lineage, the ger, G-E-R. And the ger is the person who's vulnerable. That's it. That's the whole story. It's the vulnerable person. How do I respond to them? What energy do I give them, right? And so one of my own practice, I'll just share with you, is one of my own practices that I've shared with students for the last 25, 30 years is never receive service from someone whose name you don't know. Isn't that beautiful? It's simple, right? And give your waiter, give the bus driver the full energy of your presence, the same way you would give it to Barack Obama. You get that? That's what it means to be an outrageous lover. That's Homo Amor, right? Homo Amor isn't a person who's kind of got it all technically handled or given a great speech or written a great book, right? We once had someone on church, great person, fabulous person, super well known in the world, and then interacted with the staff in a way that was horrible, right? Whoa, that's not Homo Amor. That's not, Homo Amor is how you react with people who are vulnerable. That's the whole story, right? Do I take care? Do I suffer, right? The entire Christ teaching. What's Christ about, right? Christ is doing his crucifixion at Jerusalem, but all the big campaigns, the big email campaigns, the big commodified moves are happening in Jerusalem as he's getting caught, right? Right? The big, movie openings, everything's happening in Jerusalem, right? There's just this group of people on a hill, right? Christ is getting crucified, right? But that's where intimacy is happening, right? Authentic intimacy is not happening in all the big events in Jerusalem. Authentic intimacy is happening on that hill, right? By that cross. And so that authentic intimacy that happens on that hill by that cross, right? That old rugged cross, right? That creates and changes history. Now, I want to get that with us, okay? You think history changes by the big public speeches we make. It's not true. History changes through authentic intimacy, right? Authentic sacrifice. That's how history changes. And often it's invisible. I was, this morning I was reading, early in the morning, I couldn't sleep, right? And I was reading the biography of a woman, right, who was the key person, right, who created the term nuclear, and Barbara, you pronounce it for me, F-I-S-S-I-O-N, right, F-U-S-S-I-O-N, but it's not pronounce it. I always read in science, but I don't. Fission, right? So nuclear fission, which was critical to Hahn, right, and creating that big move that Oppenheimer made, was actually, right, a Jewish Swedish woman, right, who kind of was the key person because she was a Jewish Swedish woman. She was ignored by the Nobel Committee, right, and she did this she changed history, and she was completely ignored, right. But is she therefore less powerful? No, we think power is fame. Or we think power is, right? We change history by creating authentic moments of intimacy. That's how it happens. Are we willing? How do we respond at moments, right? Jesus was the most vulnerable person in the world. So who shows up for the crucifixion? Nobody, right? But when Jesus is powerful, right, then everyone kind of relates to him differently. So just notice the people closest in your circle. How do they relate to you when you feel more vulnerable? And how do they relate to you when you seem powerful? And if they relate to you when you seem powerful in a way where they give you their dazzle and their energy, but when you seem vulnerable, they don't really notice it, you're not working with Homo Amor, right? At the Center for Integral Wisdom, at the Foundation for Conscious Evolution, we want to, right, which is the source of evolutionary church, and evolutionary church, we want to be Homo Amor. So when you write into the chat box, I want to invite everyone, write as Homo Amor, right, with radical, right, quivering, right? Aliveness and delight and empathos. We can feel each other, right? Authentic moments of intimacy change history. And here's the second thing, and this brings us into prayer. Are we willing to be vulnerable? So with the people that I'm closest to, right, in the deepest way, right, I'll be vulnerable even if it's politically incorrect. Even if it kind of, I'm the person who's saying, I love you, right? I'm the person who's kind of reaching farther, right? I'll be vulnerable because that's what Homo Amor does. Homo Amor doesn't play politics, right? Homo Amor says, I love you madly, right? Madly. That's a word we use right here at church, right? I love you madly. Because it's only madly. It's only when we love madly that we become sane. Okay? Does everyone get that? And let's just capture that. That's the core of the Dharma, right? It's only when I love madly that I become sane. Because the universe is madly in love in every second, right? And so I want to just invite us. We can't turn in prayer to God, which we're about to do. God, who is not just the infinity of power, but God who is the infinity of intimacy, right? Who lives in each one of us, right? Who knows our name, right? Who knows the inside, who knows, right? God's madly delighted with us, right? Not when we get all the technical stuff right, not when we write a great book, when we show up in full mad delight and full vulnerability, right? And full madness and delight for those who are vulnerable. That's Homo Amor. Homo Amor is nothing. It's nothing else. It's that, right? Can we invest that, right, into high tech, right? That's the question. Can we invest that into nanotech, right? Can algorithms that we're developing now actually absorb that quality, right? Because right now, let's just notice everyone, right? As I said a couple of weeks ago, no one voted for the internet. No one voted for infotech and biotech, right? No one voted for all the changes that are changing the very source code structure of the world. And the people driving those changes are not Homo Amor. Those changes are being driven by what Yuval Harari calls Homo Deus. They're being driven by profit. They're being driven by basically private entrepreneurs, right, seeking profit. That's what's driving most of the innovations. We need to harness those innovations, like Peter Diamandis very beautifully is speaking for it. Singularity University, we need to harness them, right, for uplifting reality. But we need a story for that. We need a new story. And the new story is the story of Homo Amor. And Homo Amor needs to become the source code of biotech and infotech. It needs to become the source code of our lives. And the way it happens is not because we have the biggest budget in the world. It happens because we love each other madly in church. If we can do that in church, in every meeting about church, all right, and in every way that we engage, and the way that we send it to 30 friends, the way we call people and invite them, if we build this, right, as authentic, outrageous intimacy, where we're loving each other madly, because that's the only sane way to be, right, then church is going to be like that moment, right, that moment on that hill, right, where that cross, right, was lifted, right, and all the people in Jerusalem, all the powerful people were doing something else, but actually the authenticity of that moment of intimacy changed history. That's our invitation. And with that, we turn to God. God who's the infinity of intimacy. The God we don't believe in doesn't exist. Right? Not the cosmic vending machine God. The God who is so radically intimate, right, that in her infinity, she desired us. Wow. Right? Wow. Well, actually knowing in your body that I'm desired by the God we're about to pray to. That God desires me. That God is madly in love with me. It's not just man in search of God, it's God in search of man. Everyone get that? It's not just man in search of God, not just the human being in search of God. God's in search of the human being. God's madly reaching for us. God yearns, right, to be madly intimate with us. When I know that God yearns to be madly intimate with me, then my days by myself change. Does everyone get that? And then actually I realize I feel cosmos desiring me and addressing me personally. So we're going to turn to God in the holy and the broken hallelujah, right, of Leonard Cohen, who understood this in his bones. And we are going to ask for everything because prayer affirms the dignity of personal needs. Leonard Cohen, Jeff Buckley, the cover sessions. Hallelujah. And let's bring it to the chat box, friends, and we're going to pray and we're going to ask for everything. It's just invite everyone. And if you've never been with us, we go to the chat box now and we affirm the dignity of personal need and we ask for everything. So whoever's going to pick it up first, and I'll read some of the prayers as they come in, right? We kind of go into the chat box and we say, God, what do I need? I pray that my wife, Betsy, travel safely back to me here in Oregon. Feel that the beauty and the simplicity of that. Simona, Italy, right? How's the weather there? I pray for the clarification of my desire and for the new section of my house to be very inexpensive and be built beautifully. Jim, I pray that all my activities today, I am present in Homo Amor. Oh my God, Medea, the holy Medea. I pray my mind, my heart, my body is feeling the unity of she. Oriana, right? The 72 names of God, I pray for vital health. Ben, welcome back, Ben. We've missed you, brother. I pray to find my love again. Brent, the holy Brent, I pray, right? The Surah of the opening to purify our hearts in unique risk. Amen. Claire, I pray for my husband, Eric, to fully recover from his allergy. Right? Oh my God. Fight, right? Energy, defend my clients enthusiastically this week. Amen. Kirsten Zohar, I pray for the healing of my friends who just lost their baby. Right? G, Mag, I pray for equanimity, right? And health in my household. Holy equanimity. Val, so good to Val. Val, live my story and community, my partner, my books and creations. David Aitan, and I pray for a thriving band of outrageous lovers in the Bay Area and all over the world. And David, as you emerge into teacherness, right? Amen. David Aitan, Mosa, right? I pray for clarity and relaxation. I'm dying to read the first version of Unique Voice. Oh my God, Mosa, my hat is off to you, as it were. Okay, right? Claire Liraza, I pray for Christina to fully recover from pneumonia. Amen. Holy AJ Weissman, I pray for the healing of my son, Joshua Weissman. Amen. Inika, I pray for new inspiring empowerment training in South Africa. Lisa, I pray to feel the love of God always moving through me. Amy, I pray for strength and confidence to follow my unique path. I pray for strength to be vulnerable, right? Amen. Heather Barnett, welcome, Heather. I pray I'll always bring love to every piece of creation, no matter what it throws at me, by people who can't hold, right? That outrageous love. Medea, I pray for Ivan's ear infection hearing completely. Oh my God, praying for Ivan with you. Deborah, welcome. I pray I be outrageous love. Robin, I pray for outrageous love to fill every cell in my being and share this with all beings. And we bring it over to Barbara, who's going to take that in Shahat's prayer for strength and focus, and Suzette and Priscilla and Kirsten, right, and Helen, and raise it up to the sky, right, in her holy sermon. As we weave these strands together, I pass the word to you, beloved evolutionary.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to this evolutionary love. And I would like to offer something special this morning, in the sense that we have talked about the various roots that we've come from. We've come from, for example, Teilhard de Chardin, and we understand that he saw the whole impulse of evolution toward greater consciousness, freedom, and love. We see Teilhard de Chardin here in our church. I'm just taking all the great ones that have helped us be here. We have seen Ken Wilber, we have seen Buckminster Fuller with The World That Works for Everyone. So he is one of our elders of the Evolutionary Church. And now I want to add one that is extremely important for us, which is Sri Aurobindo. And I really have been rereading recently something called The Life Divine. And here is the thing that I think, especially with Mark, that is so alive here, is that Aurobindo is saying about he started to analyze the nature of God. And he said, how can we possibly believe in God with the evil and horrors of the world? And what kind of God is this? So he said, we cannot believe in an individual God. It cannot be somehow okay that this is happening if that's what we have. So in a very Hindu-ish like way, he released the individual God, and he got to Satchitananda. And what he saw to be the actual essence of universe itself is the infinite, inalienable delight of being. And he put delight is existence. So this goes deeper than the Jewish version of God or the Christian version even of Christ. Delight is existence. Delight is the secret of creation. So it is evolutionary love. Let's see evolutionary love as delight.
Mm.
Because if you can really participate in evolutionary love, it's totally delightful. Everything is delightful. Like you say, you can be all alone all day, and the God that's in you is delight. And this is a very, very beautiful way of seeing it. Delight is the root of birth. Now, that's really true in human evolution. Delight is the cause of remaining in existence. Now, that's a very interesting question, and I've thought about that myself as I'm approaching 90 years old. Why should I stay here? Why should I? Delight is the cause of remaining in existence. And if, we're going to be using all these high-tech capabilities, life extension is one of them, and nanotech and biotech and quantum computing. And I actually believe, if I may say so, that one of the reasons that I would want to stay in existence is put love into high tech. Why is that? Because I love high tech. And how come do I love high tech? Not only am I Homo Amor, but I'm Homo Universalis. Homo Amor is the loving engenderer of a Homo Universalis that goes universal. And I believe that all those high tech, if we love them properly, heals the earth, frees the people, and explores the universe. But I want to add, as Aurobindo says, the delight of existence is the solution to everything. The delight of existence is the solution to everything. And so here in this book, I just want to read this to you because I think that we have to add Aurobindo to our pantheon of those that we truly are drawing from. And in his beautiful chapter, The Delight of Existence is the Solution, I just want to read a few of these beautiful, beautiful words to you. In the self of things is an infinite, indivisible existence. So God cannot be divided up into different levels of God. Of that existence, the essential nature or power is an infinite, imperishable force of self-conscious being. So to think of this Godhead as an infinite force of self-conscious being, and of that self-consciousness, the essential nature or knowledge of itself is an infinite, inalienable delight of being. Now that's very Hindu rather than Jewish or Christian, but bringing in the infinite delight of being as the impulse that keeps this entire universal process going. So let's just take a moment together here in the Church of Evolutionary Love and create a space for the infinite delight of being as our definition of the Church of Evolutionary Love.
Amen.
Is it possible that God, in quotes, is the infinite delight of being that can be experienced not just in personal love or individual love, but what we're calling evolutionary love, which actually I believe is what we are calling the impulse of creation itself. So I'd like to just honor the Church of Evolutionary Love as the church of the infinite delight of being. Wow. Such that when we love each other, we are tapping into the infinite delight of being in person as each other. Wow. Each and every one of us an expression of the infinite delight of being evolutionary love in person, going the whole way in this lifetime. And I turn my word to you, Mike.
Thank you, beloved. Thank you. And I want to share with everyone that what I'm about to say, Barbara and I didn't discuss this. This is often we talked before, but on this particular thing, we haven't talked about delight. So let me just share a couple of things. I'm so delighted, right, by your delightful sermon. So let's be delighted together, B. Okay, ready to be delighted together? Let's be delighted together. So first, right, those of you who I'm close to, that we have a personal relationship, know that the first thing I always say in a letter is, I'm delighted. So delight is a core
No, that's what I thought about you.
It's a core word. It's a beautiful word. And actually, several of us who are in church, who have been studying with and Holy of Holies, we have a practice we've been doing the last year, which we call delightment practice. We've actually been doing, there are people who are actually on this call, right? You know who you are, who've done, literally 100 emails in the last 100 days, literally now, right? Which is called delightment practice, where the practice and what we're saying is that delightment comes before enlightenment, right? Delightment precedes enlightenment, because delightment means when you actually experience, right? And the practice is to actually find moments of delight in the day. So actually, the kind of Jewish, Christian, Hindu split is often kind of stated in ways that actually miss some of the sources, but it's called delightment practice. Actually, the word oneg, O-N-E-G, oneg, which is a core word from Isaiah, right, is about delight, right? God's called delight. So that actually, it's a very gorgeous idea. The Sufis have a version of it as well. And it's one of the most beautiful things about Aurobindo. And you know who Aurobindo influenced, beloved B, as we're getting some of the elders of evolutionary church, as you say, and bringing them into the space, right? Aurobindo was the most important influence in Thomas Berry, right? And Thomas Berry, my friends, right, was a very, very good, theologian who was influenced by Teilhard de Chardin, but really by Aurobindo in a very deep way. And later people like Mary Evelyn Tucker and the Journey, the Universe Story people, right, came from that place, but they got so into the evolutionary science, they didn't really know how to put it together. But let's kind of come back, okay? Right, Ken was very heavily influenced by Aurobindo also. That's absolutely correct, Sally. I've never read Aurobindo carefully. He's not actually in my library, and I'm just starting to teach.
How big this is?
No, I have read. I'm just starting to. There's one
of the books.
Yeah, I know. He's as bad as I am, right? But I'm just starting to teach Aurobindo to one couple in Holy of Holies who've been with me for a decade. So I'm actually reading Aurobindo now, but he's great. He's great. Yes, I'm just right now starting, but that's part of our conversation tonight. So friends, let's bring what Barbara, so first off, delight, right? Delight, number one. 2, delightment practice. So here's the practice, is literally find twice a day, just stop and write down something you were delighted by, right? And so every day in my email box, Barbara, I get from a bunch of gorgeous people. I'm only doing it with maybe like 4 or 5 people who are with me, with us today in church. And we're just doing delightment practice. We just access the experience of delight. And delight is, again, it's the bridge to enlightenment. Because when you're delighted, you expand, right? When you're delighted, you can see clearly. Because when you're delighted, right, as the Hebrew mystics wrote, and as Aurobindo writes, citing the Hindu tradition of Leela, right, which is really where it's from, this the radical, alive delightment, right? When you're delighted, you access divine space. So I want to bring this back to unique risk, okay? I want to come back, I want to take Barbara's gorgeous resonance and sermon, right, and bring it back to unique risk, okay? So we want to access delightment. Now, the whole move today, right, delightment is a taste. And you got to be able to access that taste. Now, the whole move today, right, we're more concerned with good connectivity to our internet, right, and with answering more emails and being more effective. So even when we're having lunch, we're still on our email. We don't even notice what we tasted, right? You can see people sitting, right, at a dinner, right? You can see everybody kind of looking at their phones the whole time. In order to access delight is a taste. It's why Aquinas' favorite verse, Terry, in the book of Psalms was taste and see that God is good. So the taste is delight. Oneg, O-N-E-G is delight. You've got to taste delight. Now you can only taste delight if you can relax into yourself. Does everyone get that? Right? Delight wells up. That's what Aurobindo understood. And I can say this just privately to our friends in church. I feel very close to Aurobindo because, right, his practice is similar to mine. His practice wasn't classical meditation. His practice was writing. He would sit in his room, as Barbara knows, all day. His mother, the woman called the mother, who was his student, basically ran the scene. And Aurobindo wrote all day. He meditated through writing, which is very much my practice these days, right? And there's a clarity that comes from it, and you begin to taste. So I'm sitting in an office right now that some of you have been in. Barbara's been here. Lisa's been here. It's a little, small, beautiful office that belongs to my friend Swami Chaitan Ananda, right? And I'm, and the movement center here in Oregon is hosting the Center for Integral Wisdom and the Foundation. Barbara will be here soon. We'll be doing some scholar residency together, writing together. But basically, I live in this office. I barely come out of it, right? And I can be 12, 13, 14, 15 hours, right, deep inside, and you begin to taste delight. But what we're doing is we're actually creating a system in which we become cogs in a larger data system. We're responding, we're consuming, we're commodities, and we don't actually step out and access our ability to taste, right? I did, in the last 3 weeks, beloved Barbara, I did a little survey. I asked people, do you taste your food? When I would talk to them, right? Out of 100 people I talked to, I'd say 98 don't taste their food. They couldn't actually, right, find the experience of actually tasting your food. We talk while we eat, we do, right? But actually stop, just taste your food, right? The experience of tasting your food is radically delightful. Imagine an orange in front of you. Just stop and realize that it's orange. Wow, it's orange, right? It's dressed. Smell the fruit, smell the orange. Then slowly and erotically, right, peel the orange. You slowly, erotically peel the orange. After you've smelled it, you've looked at it, you've held it in your hand, right? And then split the sections. Then slowly take one section, put the section in your mouth, and then bite, right? And feel the succulent juice kind of moving inside you as this whole other taste explodes, tantalizing, sensually engaging your taste buds, and you explode into ecstasy eating your orange. There it is right there. How many people ate an orange that way? And it's free. An orange costs 50 cents, right? Right? So we have to actually reclaim our ability to taste, right? Taste and see that God is good, right? We got to come back to our senses. And then it goes through the body. The body holds delight. Skin is delightful. So that's one piece. To take your unique risk, here's the first principle. To take your unique risk, you have to actually access delight, right? When you're contracted, you can't see your unique risk clearly. Does everyone get that? You need to have an experience of delight to be able to identify, right, what's your unique risk and what's actually a wrong risk, what's reckless. The difference between reckless and responsible comes not from surface pleasure, not from addictive pleasure, right? Addiction is the opposite of delight. The addict desperately seeks to cover the hole So therefore, the addict can't access delightment, right? Delightment's the key to enlightenment. The master in the Japanese Zen ceremony gets radically delighted by drinking tea or eating an orange, right? The addict, right, needs to keep raising, right, the level of dopamine hit because the addict can't access delightment. You get that? So stay with me. So the first principle of unique risk is you need to have an experience of delight. Now, you can be delighted in the middle of tragedy. You can be delighted in the middle of grief. You can be delighted in the middle of pain. I want you to get that. Delight's not ice cream. Certainly not the wrong flavor ice cream, for sure. Okay, but delight's not ice cream. Everyone got, right? Delightment, right? Delightment is a state of being that you can access both in agony and ecstasy. That's one. Two, right? So can someone help me? Casey, could you help me, love? Right? Claire, Shahati, let's get that first principle. You can access unique risk, right? Let's get it down, right? From a state of delightment. And delightment is not connected, right, to ice cream, right? Delightment is connected to, right? Delightment is connected to, right, to this deep sense of tasting reality, right? And Nancy Ann, right, we talked about unique risk for the last 2-3 weeks, right? And I'll frame it a little bit again as we go. Let me just say it now just for a second, because I just saw that Nancy said, don't know what a unique risk is. A unique risk is a risk that's a function of your unique self that you need to take in order to give your unique gift. And what you might want to do is, Nancy and love, if you scroll up, right, you can actually read the code. We've been talking about unique risk the last several weeks. We spent several weeks on a code. So thanks for asking, love, because I'm sure a lot of other people had your question as well. So just so everyone gets, your unique risk is the unique risk you have to take, right, in order to realize your unique self, right, access your unique set of allurements, right, and give your unique gift. Now, let me go to the next step, though. Whenever, and I want to tell you guys a story now that happened in the last 2 days, which is a shocking story, okay? And as you listen to the story, if you can go, right, Barbara was delighted, right? And along the way of delightment, I think she was going to say to give a contribution, right? The contribution, I'm just going to set this, Lisa just put the contribution in the chat box. It's totally good. She just put the contribution in the chat box. So I want to ask everyone, because that will delight the church so we can actually fund the church for this month.
I just thought of something, Mark. The reason I forget it is in order for you to remind me.
There's no question that is our holy ritual, right?
And it's, remind me, everybody gets it.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Or gets it.
And we are delighted. We are delighted. We are delighted. So everyone, please, as I tell you this story, I want to just ask you to make the contribution. I'm asking for Barbara in our ritual, right? Right. So, because actually the contributions are what keep church going. And as I said before, no one takes a salary from church. So it's your contribution monthly that keeps it going. Now, I want to tell you a story, because there's a second quality and unique risk. And this is for, everyone's going to understand this at a different level, right? But I want to tell you a story that just happened to me in the last 2 days. And it's really it's an evolutionary church story. And I really want to just convey in the most gentle way that she's with us. She, right? Eros, the goddess, right? The force of delightment. And I think Aurobindo, by the way, was wrong about one thing. He was dead wrong about one thing. Aurobindo didn't understand, right, this dimension of divinity who's personally intimate, right? He didn't know how to work with, right, evil, right? And so basically he got rid of, right, the individual God. He didn't know what to do with it, right? What Aurobindo didn't understand was that actually, right, the very question of suffering, right, only makes sense if there's a personally intimate divinity, right? In other words, only if you actually get, right, that actually each individual matters, right, is there a question, why do people suffer? If every individual doesn't matter, and if reality is not concerned intimately with every individual, then why is suffering even a problem to us? It shouldn't even be a problem. It should be ordinary. The fact that it's not ordinary, the fact that it actually enrages us, the fact that we protest against injustice, the fact that we realize that every individual, right, needs, right, to have rights, right, needs to be fed, needs to give their unique gift, that realization, right, and that when we act against and when we hurt individuals, and not just the species, when we hurt individuals, that's evil, right? That only makes sense if you get that's an intimate universe that cares about every person. But let's put that aside. I want to tell you a story, okay? And I know we're doing a lot this week, so thank you for just being with us in this ecstatic place together, right? The second principle of unique risk, one is unique delightment. You need delighted. You need to be delighted, right? To actually be able to discern your unique risk. The second thing you need is revelation. Okay, the second thing you need is revelation. I'm watching the time. It's 9:54. I'm going to go 2 minutes over. That's it. Okay? But this is so important. It's so dramatic. And you're not going to believe what I'm about to tell you. It's almost too shocking, right? And maybe mute yourself, anyone who's not muted. So we got kind of, right? At least maybe you could help with muting anyone who's not muted, me or B or whoever. Thanks, awesome. That's awesome. So I'm sitting 2 days ago at my computer, and I want to give you a story of revelation. And revelation didn't stop with the old prophets. Revelation is always happening, okay? There's always revelation. Revelation is when the intimate universe discloses itself to you and addresses you personally. Can everyone get that sentence? Here's what revelation is. Revelation is, here's a definition of revelation. Revelation is when the intimate universe discloses itself to you and addresses you personally. Can someone capture that with me? Anybody? Right? Revelation is, right, when the intimate universe discloses itself to you and addresses you personally. So when you're personally addressed by the intimate universe, right, that's revelation. Everyone get that? Okay? So it's when God says hi. Yes, Jim, you're absolutely right. When God says hi and God says, right, I need you, right? You're my partner, right? I'm intimate with you, right? We're co-creating together, right? So here's, I want to give you just this kind of crazy story, okay? So it's 2 days ago. I'm sitting at my computer, and right, I'm just kind of like, deep in working on this book that Barbara and I are working on, right? And so I'm deep in kind of the text of our book, and we're right in the middle of it, and we're going to finish it by the board meeting. And it's about the universal love story and eros, right, and supersex, right? And I'm looking for a source. So I somehow wind up on the website of a great university in the world, and I don't want to reveal any names, but it's a great university. And I happen to see the name there of a scholar who is one of the most really revered scholars in the world. I would call him kind of the Foucault of mysticism today. And I don't know anyone who knows who Foucault is, but Foucault was this, postmodern philosopher. But as Habermas said, he said, you read Derrida, you fall asleep. You read Foucault, you wake up with reverence, right? In other words, Foucault is this great, gorgeous, larger than life, right? So this particular scholar, right, is this great scholar. I have no relationship with him, right? We were in the same circle, when I was in Israel, but I met him once maybe for a brief second when I was very, very young. And he was one of the people when I was very young who was enormously important to me, this larger-than-life figure from my youth. So I see his name, and literally before I know, and I'm watching the time, before I know what happened, right, I'd written him a letter. And I was like, I press send, and I'm like, whoa, what did I just do? Why did I write him, right? This guy, right? And he wrote an article, right? I'm not even going to say the name of the article, but which was very important to me when it came out. And my book, Mystery of Love, which I wrote in 2003, which is the first work I wrote on eros, right, was in a certain sense, he opened a gate for me. I went in a very different direction, but he was a very important person. We all have influences, and we need to acknowledge and love our influences, right? And he's this iconic figure, unapproachable, and I've always loved him from a distance, and I've always felt him inside of me, and I wouldn't approach him. He's just not, and then I left Israel in 2006, and there was a kind of lack of resolution, and he was part of that world where there was a lack of resolution, and so, end story. And, I think about him occasionally, but not often, but I'm deeply aware of his presence as this towering figure, right, in mystical scholarship. I think maybe one of the two most important people in the world today in mystical scholarship. I write him a note. That's it. And I think I'm never going to hear from him. 9 minutes later, right, I get a note back. Dear Rabbi Mordechai, right? Now, I generally go by Mark. I hadn't identified myself, though, as rabbi, right, in any way. And by saying Dear Rabbi Mordechai, which was what people called me in Israel, he was basically saying, I'm with you, I'm tracking, right? It was this kind of private communication. And I asked him something, right, about the Dharma that we're teaching in church, all right? I asked him something about, eros, and, you know, what we call outrageous love, what I called in an essay 7 years ago, evolutionary love, right, about intimacy, right? And he sends me, right, a reference, okay? So first I was just shocked that he wrote back, and I was shocked that he sent me a reference, right? So I wrote him back something that really brought tears to my eyes. It was this, and he wrote a couple of things there that were very, very subtle, and this understated language, and it was this kind of gorgeous meeting that happened. So I write him back, you know, I'll be in Israel in about a year, and he writes back, which I never, it's so not who the person is. He writes back and says, see you in a year. So I was just kind of shocked by the whole interaction, and it moved my heart very deeply, but now's where the story starts. And here's the key to the story. I then spent a day, right, trying to find this very rare book that's not around, right, written by a scholar, which he said has one article I should look at. Right? I finally am able to download it from a very elite press of scholarly books. I find the book. I'm able to download it literally yesterday afternoon, right, Barbara, right before our meeting, right, with Chris and Lisa and Sherwood, okay? I download it, and I listen to this, right? And I haven't mentioned anything to him about what he sends me. Here's what he sends me. He sends me an article which has a manuscript from a man named Nathan of Gaza. Nathan of Gaza is the primary thinker of a great man named Shabtai Tzvi. And Shabtai Tzvi was a controversial Jewish kind of spiritual figure that I feel a very close lineage connection to. And he sends me a manuscript by it's called, you know, from two, you know, manuscript libraries in Europe, a manuscript, 6 pages of a manuscript, right, of this gentleman, right, of Nathan of Gaza, who's this great 16th century, you know, thinker. And in the manuscript, here's what it said. Now, everyone, you got to just hold on to your seat. In the manuscript, which I've never seen, it says there are 2 kinds of love. There are kind of a regular love, or what I would call ordinary love. And he says there's a second kind of love, which he calls ahava rabbah, right, which is great love or outrageous love, right? And he says this outrageous love, right, actually is, and he doesn't use these words, but it's a 4-page manuscript kind of written in Kabbalistic language. This kind of love, this outrageous love, is cosmic. It drives all of the cosmos. And then again, these aren't the words used, but it's what it said, and it's modeled by the sexual, right? So it's a kind of eros, it's a kind of outrageous love that drives all of reality. It's modeled, right, by, it says, bein ish lishto, by the love between a man and a woman. Obviously, he was heteronormative. He's writing in the 16th century. So for him, sexuality was man and woman, right? And he says, so he says that basically the sexuality models this eros, which is this cosmic love that lives in the earth itself, he writes, that drives all of the physical world and drives all of the heavens, right? And actually, right, the future world, right, is going to be the world in which, right, these 2 kinds of love merge with each other, and the world will be driven as what he calls, right, when all the people living outrageous love come together in a new form of intimacy, he calls that new form of intimacy Messiah. He says that's Messiah. We would call that, Barbara, unique self-symphony, right? Right? So literally, I just want everyone to hold on to your seat for a second. Everything that we've been teaching here, everything we've been sharing, right? Everything, right, that we've been, our entire book, Barbara, right, literally is written in this manuscript, right, who is the lineage, right, he's the major person, right, in this kind of soul root person, Shabtai, who I'm very deeply identified with, right, who's been kind of, in a certain sense, a lineage source. It's a much bigger story that I can't tell in church now, right? And basically, everything that we were saying is actually written in this manuscript. Now, that's shocking. And you've got to get this. So I want everyone to get this at the last second. I know we're at 10:04, and I apologize. We're ending right now, okay? But I want you to get how revelation happens. Because we're taking our unique risk. Barbara's taking her unique risk. I'm taking my unique risk. Lisa's taking her unique risk. Claire is, Shad is, Suzette, we all are, right? Christina, right? Christina Amelon, right? All of us. So let's get what happened here. So I'm sitting at my computer. The last person I'm thinking about in the world is this great scholar, right? right? Then his name pops up literally without me doing anything, right? I never would have written him. I've written him a letter, which I press send and I can't take back, right? I never expect to hear from him. I hear from him 7 minutes later. Dear Rabbi Mordechai. I don't know him, right? And he said to me, because I've experienced controversy in my life, he said to me something about that, which was beautiful, which says kind of, I see you, you know? And then he gives me, and he just gives me this source, out of nowhere. And I spend a day looking for the source. The source is a manuscript of Nathan of Aza, who's this, there's no way in the world I ever would have found or known about this source. Right? It's the most arcane piece. And I didn't ask him for this source. Right? I didn't ask him and say, give me a source in a Sabbatian, right? You know, no, I didn't mention it. I didn't even mention it. And he sends me this source. And I finally get the source right before our meeting yesterday. And the source literally is the most explicit statement, right, about how the future of humanity is realizing this quality of what we're calling evolutionary love and outrageous love. And when Barbara and I had Barbara and I have had wonderful, I wouldn't say arguments, but kind of different perspectives on high tech. And the way we've resolved it is saying, right, we're going to download evolutionary love into high tech, which is outrageous love into high tech, which is this, right? So, wow. So the reason I want to share this is because it's a story of revelation. It's a story of revelation. And this is our unique risk. It's easier to talk about 1,000 different things than to talk about eros, to talk about being evolutionary lovers, right? To talk about awakening to desire, which is the quality of the cosmos, and desire drives innovation, and desire drives transformation, and desire drives our writing, and desire drives evolutionary church, right? So this is a revelation of evolutionary church. That's what it is, right? And it's something we didn't look for. And it's this confirmation from this Nathan of Aza figure, right? But again, I want you to get this, my friend Terry in Sun River, Oregon. I couldn't make this up on my wildest day, right? And as I was sitting reading through this manuscript in kind of Hebrew Aramaic, I was sitting there and I said, this can't be, right? And how did this come to us? So, wow. So let's just feel that, my friends. Let's feel the power. That's what we call that is, that's the intimate universe disclosing itself. The fact that Barbara and I are evolutionary partnering, that's the intimate universe disclosing itself. Who would have guessed? There's no way on our wildest day, beloved Barbara, we could have made this up. There's no way we could have dreamed this into existence.
I have to say one sentence here.
Take it, love, it's yours.
This is the theory that really changed my life, which comes from the idea that how did nature get from disorder to higher order for billions of years? And this is the dissipative structure model. And here's the sentence: everything that rises converges.
Gorgeous. Everything. Yeah.
So in your own life, as well as in my life, I have noticed from time to time synchronicities that are completely impossible.
Right.
Now, you had a major synchronicity that you didn't even conceive of, but nature has for billions of years been creating higher order. So I just wanted to acknowledge.
Yes, and love. And I know, and Lisa is correct in saying we're 8 minutes over time. We're going to finish here, but I just want to say the last sentence. And thank you, everybody, right, for staying with us, right? And thank you. And we're going to, how can anyone ever know that you're anything less than beautiful in 1 second as we finish? And if you need to go, but here's the last sentence. Okay, here's the last sentence to get this. I specifically, right, Jung talks in terms of synchronicity. I want to reclaim the word revelation, right? And as everyone get that? I want to reclaim the word revelation, everyone, okay? Right, because actually we think revelation happened then. We think that biblical times were then. They're not, they're now. They're now, right? In other words, we're the prophets. Evolutionary church is the prophet. Evolutionary church is the Buddha, right? I reclaim, and every one of us needs to reclaim in revelation, Oriana, Medea, in our individual lives. The intimate revelation is the intimate universe disclosing itself and personally addressing me. Now let's go back to the code. If you want to know how to take your unique risk, listen for revelation. Because the intimate universe does know your name. And Aurobindo, I love you madly, but the intimate universe does know your name. The intimate universe cares about you. The intimate universe needs your partnership, right? And every detail matters, right? And so look for revelation. And we'll talk more next week. We're going to offer a code, right, together, right, next week about revelation and how we look for revelation, right? And thank you.